All right, adjust the camera touch. All right, welcome everybody. Sorry, I had Discord problems. So I was editing a lot of videos today, and I have to say, I kind of like when I'm sitting back farther. I sort of thought I was supposed to be closer to the camera, but then I was looking at the videos, and I realized when I was like sitting back like this, relaxed, I thought it looked better. So I don't know. You tell me. It's always a tough call with these things, whether it should be, face close to the camera or further back. But I kind of was thinking further back looked more casual or something. I don't know. Um, anyway, all right, let me get TikTok rolling, and then we are set. Hello, Slovakia. Oh God, what did Trump say about the Proud Boys? No, I missed that. Tell me, dear, please, for the love of God. All right, TikTok is rolling. We get a little more red on my camera, maybe. It's not bad. Yeah, so what did Trump just say about the Proud Boys? I can only imagine. Gunther, congratulations on your dog. Welcome, TikTokers. We're still here. We're still here. Oops, wait, did I flip my camera? I did flip my camera. Thank you for the gift there. So yes, what did Trump just say about the Proud Boys? Whoever just said that. Smug. He said their sentences was too strong and he wanted to see how to use them. Oh my God. Yes, let's start with that. That was going to be like my second or third story, but let's make it our top story. Welcome, everybody. I'm John Aravosis. This is the Aravosis Report. Thank you, Bryce, for the gift. Today, I'm trying my more casual sitting back view. I was editing a lot of videos today and kind of had the feeling that I liked this view better when I was sitting back in the videos I was editing. Like when I was very close to the camera, I don't know. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. But I just thought, I'm trying the sitting back thing because I sort of liked how it looked on camera. So even though for television, you would never sit like this. For TV, you're supposed to sit up very straight, look at the camera. They sort of, you're in the camera like this. Anyway, so Donald Trump, I think it looks more casual and fun this way. I've sort of noticed at the videos, I was like, you know what, sitting back, TikTok's a little harder to tell because like on YouTube, you get more, actually YouTube I even like because you get to see my coffee, my Ukrainian coffee cup. Yeah, something more casual about it. I'm going to try it. It breaks all the rules of TV because like this, you're kind of slouching funny, but in any case, welcome guys. We're going to talk about today's news. We'll start about Trump and company, and then we'll move over to Ukraine. So Donald Trump, as always, because of our TikTok overlords, I mean protectors, I've got to be careful how I say this because criticizing Donald Trump is not safe in today's America, especially on TikTok. But nonetheless, we're going to try. Donald Trump pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists who tried to violently overthrow our government on January 6th. Included in the pardons, we now know, were the two leaders of the white supremacist group, the far-right anti-government white supremacist groups, Proud Boys and Oath Keepers. Their leaders, Enrique Tarrio and Stuart Rhodes, were among those who Trump decided to pardon. This is insane. I mean, it really is insane. It makes, well, let's talk about Biden's powers, Jim. How many insurrectionists did Biden pardon? None. He didn't, right? How many people who tried to violently overthrow the government did Biden pardon? None. Trump supporters have a problem. And it's something that Biden supporters, some Biden supporters, not me, have this problem, but I certainly don't. I criticize Joe Biden when he does something wrong. Thank you, LR2. I criticized Joe Biden when he screwed up on Ukraine. I actually criticized Joe Biden for not doing enough on TikTok either. He was still vacillating at the end on TikTok. A lot of Trump supporters have a very difficult time criticizing Donald Trump, ever. I can. I criticize Trump and Biden. Biden. Trump supporters have a hard time with that sometimes. The fact that you're trying to find excuses, what did Joe Biden do? To excuse Donald Trump pardoning seditionists, men who were convicted in a court of law of sedition. Sedition is when you use weapons to violently overthrow the government in an attempt. That is never okay. It doesn't matter who Biden pardoned. You should never, ever be okay with pardoning people who attack the police, people who try to violently overthrow the government. That's a bad thing. You should never be okay with that. Ever. Ever, period. And you want to talk about Biden's pardons? Let's. Name the seditionists that Biden pardoned. Name the people who attacked the police that Biden pardoned. You can't name any. You can't name any. He pardoned his son. Yeah, his son's a drug addict and kind of a mess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He pardoned a bunch of people who used marijuana. Okay. I don't personally, but I'm not quite sure I would put that on the same level as somebody convicted of sedition. But it is. There's something very wrong with people. There's something very wrong with people who would hear that Trump pardoned 2 people convicted of sedition, not just convicted of sedition, but who run far-right hate groups, white supremacist groups that have tried to violently overthrow the government. And to hear that these guys were released from prison and think, to think, thank you, LR2, to hear that news and think you've got to defend it because of who you voted for. There's something very wrong about that. I mean, this really, and I think this is a story that really underlies the whole Trump problem, is that it is so difficult for any of the Trump voter or many Trump voters to just accept on its face that sometimes he's going to do bad things. And it's okay for you as a human being and as an American to occasionally admit that Donald Trump did something wrong. But you never, ever, ever can do that. And that's the problem. And especially in a case like this, that should be so obvious, right? He pardoned 2 people convicted of sedition. He pardoned 1,500 people who tried to overthrow our government. And you guys are okay with that, some of you, because you voted for Trump, so you've got to agree with everything he does. I voted for Biden. I don't agree with everything Biden did. I criticize Biden. Ask people who watch my show. How often do I criticize Biden, folks? Right? How often do I criticize Biden? You guys know. I criticize Biden all the. I mean, maybe I criticize Biden too much. You know how much I criticize Biden daily. Exactly, daily. Right? Any case, and he deserves it when I criticize it. But any case, yeah. So Trump pardoned 1,500 insurrectionists, including the head of 2 violent white supremacist groups convicted of sedition, and he pardoned them. Unbelievable. Yeah, of course, Trump himself was convicted of 34 felonies. You know that. He's a convicted felon. So perhaps we shouldn't be surprised. Let's talk about the TikTok ban really quick. I'm a little worried about that. Because oh, Jesus Christ, go away. Drugs. That's just weird. I got a warning that our live is discussing drugs. I'm like, we're not discussing that. No, we aren't discussing. We're definitely not discussing that. But thanks, TikTok, for once again showing how broad-minded you are. TikTok ban. So this is interesting. Trump issued an executive order that I don't think makes a difference here. Trump's executive order, well, okay, this is very strange. It is falling into the pattern that I basically exactly what I predicted here, right? That Trump is delaying the implementation. He's delaying the enforcement of the penalty against Apple and Google and any other vendor for TikTok. The problem is it doesn't matter. And that's why Apple and Google have still not returned the TikTok app to the App Store. Still not returned it. You still can't get the apps because Apple and Google don't care what Trump did, because what Trump did doesn't really matter. And I've told you this before. I explained it. I'm going to explain it again. What Trump did is Trump said, yes, Apple and Google, for example, The law says you are not allowed to house TikTok's app in your app stores. You will face huge penalties, possibly even $1 billion a day. Huge penalties. Thank you, KT. Please keep the gifts coming, guys. Remember this, I do this for a living, and TikTok, I still think TikTok is in serious danger now. What Trump said was, I'm not going to come after you for the penalties. Yes, you may be accruing a penalty of $1 billion a day, Apple and Google. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Yari. But I'm not going to come after you. Okay. Thank you, Yari. Very nice gift. And Apple and Google should not believe him, because Trump did not give a legal commitment not to come after them if they house TikTok's app in the App Store. Trump simply said, I'm ordering my attorney general for the moment not to do it. I'm ordering the attorney general not to prosecute you and fine you $1 billion a day. But those fines are still accruing, right? Every day, if the TikTok app were in the App Store, every day they could be facing $1 billion in fines. But Trump is simply saying, I won't go after you for it unless I do. And that's the problem. Trump's commitment, thank you, Jean-Marquis, Trump's commitment is not legally binding. Trump's commitment is Google and Apple cannot go to court and say, well, Trump promised he wouldn't go after us, and if Trump were to change his mind. And the court would say, yeah, his promise means nothing. He's allowed to come after you. You broke the law. That's why I think Google and Apple are refusing to house the TikTok app. It's not back, guys. They're not letting it come back into their stores. Thank you, Taddy. Thank you, Sharon. And I think that's why. And I've told you this before, and I'll say it again. Thank you, Mark Blessing. I think the lawyers for Apple and Google, I'm the CEO of Apple. And I asked the lawyer and say, okay, Trump says I can put we can put the app up. We can put the TikTok app up. Are those penalties still accruing? Yes. Is he going to come after us for the penalties? He says no. Okay, can he ever come after us for those penalties? But we're still, on paper, we are still accruing those penalties. We are still earning those penalties every day, right? Yes, you are, if you have the app in your store. But Trump promises he won't come after us. Okay. Can Trump change his promise later on? Yes. Can Trump decide in 6 months he's angry at us and he's no longer going to keep his promise and he's going to go after us, Google and Apple, for all the penalties we've built up over the last 6 months for housing the TikTok app? Yes, Trump can. Your lawyer will tell you. That's why they're not doing it. That's why they're not putting the app back in. Yeah. And this is why you can't resubscribe, because the App Store is no longer carrying the app. Yep. By the way, at this point, I would not resubscribe on TikTok. You should go to YouTube and become a paid subscriber there. TikTok has got 75 days. Trump didn't extend this for 270 days. He extended it for 75 days. Why? Why did he extend it for 75 days? Why? Right? I don't know why. It's not enough time for TikTok to sell. This is, I think I think what's going on right now is, I think TikTok played a game when it shut down the app. I don't think it had to. I think TikTok then opened the app again because, again, it didn't have to shut down. What we had predicted from the beginning, and all the experts said, was the App Store will have to remove the app, but TikTok will be able to let the app continue to work on your phone, right, and your iPads. It'll work until it doesn't work, until you update your phone or your iPad, and all of a sudden the TikTok app needs an update. Then you're in trouble, because you'd need to get that updated, right? And it won't update because the app isn't on the App Store, so you can't get the update. I think we are in that period right now that we talked about when we said that, when I said that the ban goes into place, which it is, but the TikTok app keeps working. And the TikTok app keeps working, but it's not in the App Store. And sometime over the next few days, the next few weeks, the next few months, maybe, there will be an update for the phone or the iPad itself, for its own operating system, that will be incompatible with TikTok, and TikTok will no longer work. And then we're in trouble. This is a mess, guys. You need to basically follow me on YouTube, follow your favorite creators on YouTube, on Instagram. On YouTube, you've got my information right there. Instagram, I'm Aravosis. On all the other social media, I'm Aravosis. I'm the same name that I am on same name for my social media handle that I am on TikTok. It's Aravosis. Find me on everything. But whoever you follow on TikTok, you need to go and we are not off the hook. You need to go and keep following them on YouTube, on Instagram, and everywhere else, because I am not convinced. I think any day now, it is possible even any day that we could lose the connection because the app may not work. We just don't know. We just don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess. In any case, so yes, but yeah, and you can no longer subscribe on TikTok or redo your subscription. I'm curious too. If you try to buy additional gold coins or whatever they call on TikTok to give gifts, I'm going to guess you can't because it goes through the App Store. Now, mind you, you should do it on your computer anyway on TikTok because you get a lot more money on your computer doing it. Thank you, Daryl. You can or you cannot. Tarad said you just bought some. Interesting. So you just bought some in your TikTok app on your phone or your iPad. You just did? Others are saying they cannot. Interesting. The TikTok shop. Oh, interesting. Yeah. But you cannot. Okay. But on the website, you should be able to. Okay. So the rest of you are saying you cannot, but on the website, you should be able to, which I'd be very curious if you can. Yeah. See, this is what I mean. It's starting to cut into everything we do on TikTok at this point. Yep, the website, because the website doesn't go through the Apple Store. See, the Apple Store has cut off TikTok. And we're all pretending like TikTok got turned back on. TikTok only went off because they turned it off. And then 12 hours later, they decided to turn it on. It had nothing to do with Trump or the ban or anything else. They just turned it off on their own. Any case, Jens, I did see that. Thank you. Jens gifted a gift membership that Tree Robitaille got, who's another longtime reader of ours or listener or whatever you want to call yourself, viewer. So thank you, Tree Robitaille and Jens both. Yes, if you're not in the US, of course you can buy. Yeah, because we know the App Store works for you guys. But for Americans, I'm talking, we're kind of screwed. Thank you, Jess, for the gift. So anyway, follow me on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, follow me elsewhere, guys, and do the same thing for the other folks that you're following because I am very afraid that we're going to be in trouble one of these days soon. The ban has not gone away, so be aware of that, okay? All right, let's keep going here with the news. Trump issued a number of executive orders declaring a national emergency on the U.S.-Mexico border. I think this was from the New York Times. Trump's emergency declaration, along with designating Mexican cartels as a terrorism threat, clears the way for using the U.S. military to help combat illegal immigration, breaking historical policies for how U.S. forces have been used in the homeland. Generally speaking, American soldiers are not supposed to be used in the U.S. It's like kind of against the rules. Now, this one was interesting. Trump is reinstating the Remain in Mexico policy for asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border, ending a policy in which they were released into the U.S. while their cases were being considered by immigration courts. I am going to say something controversial. I agree with Trump on this one. So this one has always bothered me. People will come from Venezuela or wherever, and they'll come to the U.S. by land, okay? And they'll cross through, I'd have to look at my map, but 6-7 countries they cross through. If you're coming like from Venezuela or Colombia and you're coming through Central America to the US, they cross through 6 or 7 countries, 6 or 7 friendly countries, right? I mean, Panama, Nicaragua's got some issues, but they're basically friendly countries for somebody from Venezuela. And these folks pass through 6 or 7 friendly countries where they don't want asylum, and they wait until they get to the US and ask for asylum because life is better here than it is in Venezuela or Mexico or Costa Rica or wherever. And they don't ask for asylum on the way, but they ask for asylum here. And that bothers me because then in the law, we call that forum shopping, that you're trying to pick and choose where you go. That bothers me. That absolutely bothers me. And Trump is saying, no, He's saying if you get to the U.S. border and you're seeking asylum, you're going to stay in Mexico pending the resolution of the asylum claim. Now, it would depend. Thank you, Taras. If you were seeking asylum from Mexico, right? If the drug cartels were after you, then I would say that's stupid. We should not let you stay in Mexico. That would be dumb, right? Obviously. Thank you. That was very nice of you, Tara. Oh, Tara. I thought it was Tara. Tara, thank you for that. Right? If you're fleeing Mexico because Mexico is a danger to you, then obviously we shouldn't leave you in Mexico pending asylum. But if you came from other countries and you passed through Mexico, you should be seeking asylum in Mexico. You shouldn't be seeking asylum in America. I mean, because what you're doing is you're actually not seeking asylum in America. You're immigrating to America and you're using asylum as a trick to get in. And I don't have sympathy for that because I have sympathy. I like immigration. I want people from all over the world coming to America. I'm good on that. But I don't want people cheating. And I think people are cheating when they claim asylum, but they've actually passed through 8 countries first. You're just not allowed to. Doesn't matter if the other countries can provide a better life. Doesn't matter. That's not the way asylum works. Asylum, see, here's the problem too. Folks don't realize who are pro-immigration. I mean, I'm pro-immigration. Asylum has nothing to do with seeking a better life in America. That's called immigration. That's not asylum. Asylum is they're trying to kill you in Venezuela and you have to flee the country because the government is trying to kill you. And you come to another country to protect you, right? That's asylum. Jews fleeing the Soviet Union because they were thrown in jail. That's asylum, right? That's what asylum is. Not looking for a better life. Looking for a better life is immigration. And we have rules for that, right? You can't jump the line because you wanted to illegally cross the border in Mexico. There's people in Africa who would like to come here. They can't do what people in Latin America do, right? Because from Africa, how are you going to illegally cross the border? Not very easy. You're an ocean away, right? So anyway, that's what I'm saying. This trying to clamp down on how people are using asylum to cheat the system, I think is totally fair. And this is why I also think Trump's immigration thing, he's way too harsh. I think he's way too racist about it as well. But I think it will appeal to a lot of Americans because I don't agree with Democrats on this issue. I really don't. I think too many Democrats are basically open borders. I think they are. And they think, no, people want to come. We should let them in. No, people want to come. Then they should get in line with everybody else who wants to come because it's not fair. It's not. And it's not that it's not fair to us. It's not fair to everybody else because I know lots of people who wanted to immigrate. I had a friend from Colombia who wanted to stay. He couldn't stay. And he was brilliant. He was a doctor, MD, PhD, doing cancer research at NIH. He couldn't stay. And other people who cheat can stay? No. Anyway, here's the other thing Trump is trying to do. He ordered or is trying to order an end to birthright citizenship. This one, I don't know how he's going to get away with because it's pretty much in the Constitution. Birthright citizenship in America is basically if you are born on American soil, you get American citizenship. Now, it's funny. The Russians historically have gamed the system. There have been lots of articles about how Russian women get pregnant and they come to the US on like tourist visas or whatever, just so that their kid being born can become a Russian citizen. I mean, an American citizen, excuse me. That bothers me. I don't think people should be able to come here to have children as tourists. So it's a difference in gaming the system. You know what I mean? If you're an immigrant and you're here, that's a different story, right? If you're an immigrant and you're a legal immigrant and your child is born here, I have less of a problem with that, right? Or actually, somebody comes here illegally. What happens? Well, actually, when they come here illegally, it doesn't work. I'm forgetting why though, because that would be the Dreamers, right? Or actually, somebody correct me on this. The Dreamers, were any of them born here? I don't think so. Or were they brought here at such a young age that they really don't know anything else? Because if they were born here, they would be American citizens, would they not? I'm not sure what the no means. They were brought at a young age, right? Okay, right, exactly. Because if they were born here, they would be Americans. But again, think about this. If your parents came here illegally and you were born here, you become American? I mean, if that's what the law is, that's what the law is. I don't love it. I don't love it. I think if you come here legally, it's a different story. Then I'm right. Then I'm game. But if you come here illegally, your kids shouldn't be Americans because they're born here. Because again, for me, it's a matter of people who cheat. I just don't think people should cheat the system. Having said that, the law is the law, right? If the Constitution says that's how it works, then that's how it works. I mean, right? There's no that's the way it is, right? There's no way around it. I mean, no, the dreamer thing is its own problem. Yeah, the dreamer thing is its own problem. If correct, that's its own issue, because basically people were born here, but then they've lived here for 30 years or 20 years, and this is all they know, and they don't even speak Spanish, and they want to deport them. You can't deport these people, and frankly, you shouldn't deport them because they're pretty much Americans anyway at this point. I mean, why not keep them? Just forget a fairness standard, from an America standard, you've got people who speak flawless English. The ones that I've met tend to be well-educated. I mean, they're like exactly the kind of people you'd want to stay anyway. Anyway, thank you, Cinderella. But again, doesn't matter if the Constitution says so, as Kathy just said. If the Constitution says they get to stay, they get to stay. But Trump is trying to see what he can do about that. Trump also signaled new tariffs on goods from Canada and Mexico will be imposed by the end of the month. Oh, honey, anybody who's surprised by my views on immigration has not been following me. And also, if you're surprised by my views on anything, you've clearly not been watching my show, because this is the one show on TikTok and YouTube where you're not going to get bullshit. I am not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not going to say things because you're a Democrat and I want to make Democrats feel good and Republicans feel bad. That's not the way it works. I'm going to give you my views and I'm going to give you my analysis. And sometimes you're not going to like it. And if you can't handle that, you are free to go watch somebody who lies to you and tells you all the things that make you feel good. But that's not going to happen for me. Thank you, Elizabeth. Anyway, so so the new tariffs, this is bad. Trump did signal he's going to start new tariffs against Canada and Mexico by the end of the month. That could be very bad. That could be very bad. Yes, they started. The mug was made by the daughter of one of the viewers out there. I'm forgetting who. It was her 13-year-old daughter who made it. She just did the design in school, and then they printed on the mug, which I thought was really, isn't that cute? But a 13-year-old kid designed the mug, which I thought was really cute. Oh, was it Rowan's daughter? I always forget whose daughter it was. Oh, it was Rowan's. How do you remember these things, Flower Lady? I can't remember this kind of stuff. Thank you for that. It's like somebody got me the beautiful Duluth, Minnesota mug, and I cannot remember who it was. It was like 2 years ago. Yeah, Rowan's 13-year-old daughter designed it, which is really neat. So that was very sweet. I told her, I said, people said they want to buy them. Your daughter needs to figure out how to sell them. Anyway, so the tariff thing, the tariff thing worries me. Trade is not a one-way street coming into the US, but what that does is two things. One, it literally increases the price of goods coming into the US, so that you are taxing those goods, you're raising the prices, you are causing inflation for those goods. And lest anybody forget, the goods we get from Canada, lumber used to make our homes, oil and gas used to make oil and gas in the northern parts of the country, the Midwest, sort of the Northwest, the Northeast. Mexico, refrigerators, cars, a ton of our autos are assembled in Mexico. China, my God, my iPhone, right? Refrigerators. I mean, so much technology comes from Mexico, China, and Canada, especially. And when you tax it, two things happen with tariffs. One, the price goes up. The price goes up a lot. That's called inflation. Supposedly, like on YouTube, it keeps doing the thumbs up thing. That's called inflation. Supposedly, Trump was coming to get rid of inflation, right? The second problem is when you do this, the countries retaliate. If we raise the prices of goods coming from Canada, Canada will raise the prices of goods coming from America. And there's two possibilities. Either the Canadians pay more for the goods they buy from us, or they don't buy the goods from us at all. that the price gets so expensive that they say, we're not buying from the Americans, we're going to buy from somebody else. And guess what happens when people stop buying American goods? Your companies fail. Your companies lose, your bosses or you lose money because your business now has lost a sale. And when you lose a sale, you've got to start cutting employees, all sorts of problems. And what happens, by the way, too? Trump raises tariffs on Canada. Canada raises tariffs on Trump. Trump raises more tariffs because he gets angry. Canada raises more tariffs. It's called a trade war, and it's very dangerous. It's one of the things that led to the Great Depression, trade war. So super dangerous. But that's what Trump is talking about doing. New York Times. So interesting update on Trump's pick to be, oh, hey, Thomas in Denmark. Trump's pick to be defense secretary. Pete Hegseth is a Fox News host. That's his big claim to fame. And Trump saw him on TV. And of course, Trump liked him because he was on TV and thought, let's make him in charge of the defense of the free world because he's on TV, looks good. Well, Hegseth has been fighting allegations of being an alcoholic and of abusing women. And it looked like he was doing better in terms of his nomination, possibly, until today. His ex-sister-in-law, the former wife of his brother, went public and said that, actually, let me just read you this from the New York Times. An ex-sister-in-law of Pete Hegseth submitted a sworn statement to senators on Tuesday that accused Hegseth, President Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, of being so abusive towards his second wife that she once hid in a closet from him and had a safe word to call for help if she needed to get away from him. Hegseth said through a lawyer that he denied the accusations. The affidavit from Danielle Dietrich Hegseth, the former wife of Mr. Hegseth's brother, which describes erratic and aggressive behavior by Pete Hegseth that caused his second wife to fear for her safety. According to a copy obtained by the New York Times, it also asserts that he frequently drank to excess both in public and private, including on one occasion she witnessed when he was wearing his military uniform. The problem with this is, getting to be Secretary of Defense is not your God-given right. It's not your birthright, right? To use a term we've been talking about. At this point, so many things have come up about this guy, so many accusations of him sexually assaulting and sexually harassing women, so many accusations of him having problems with alcohol. At this point, can't you just pick somebody else to be Secretary of Defense? There was actually a very famous Secretary of Defense nominee years ago. Oh my God, I can see his face. Tower. What was Tower's first name? I'm forgetting. It wasn't James, was it? But he was a U.S. Senator, and he was a U.S. Senator like in charge of defense issues. And they picked him to be Secretary of Defense. And he lost. John Tower, thank you, Chazek. He lost because he had an alcohol problem, I think. But did he also have a womanizing problem? I can't remember that as well. But it's ironic because it was very much the same allegations being made about Hegseth, but this was 30 years ago. But no, I mean at this point, find somebody that's beyond. I mean, can't we? This is the problem I have with like Trump and some of this stuff is, for our public officials, can't we just pick somebody who's good? Like I said, Marco Rubio. I'm fine with Marco Rubio. And again, some of you may not like it. Too bad. I don't like Marco Rubio, the guy who just got sworn in as Secretary of State, our foreign minister. I don't like him. He's far right. He also is he was anti-Trump and now he's a Trump suck-up. But guess what? He's fine for the job. He's qualified. He's very qualified. He knows foreign policy. He's a U.S. Senator. I think he carries himself well. He'll be a good diplomat. He's way too conservative and he sucks up to Trump. I don't like it, but two things. Trump is president. He gets to pick people that are way too conservative. That's okay. And he gets to pick people that are suck-ups because that's part of the definition of working for Trump, right? So basically, I'm fine. I mean, I don't like it, but I'm fine with Rubio being Secretary of State. Hegseth should not be Secretary of Defense. With all of this stuff against him, he should not. The point is that basically presidents, you give you give a lot of leeway to presidents for picking who they want, unless the person's unqualified in some way, either substantively unqualified, where they just don't know the topic matter, right? They don't know the issues, or sort of constitutionally unqualified, morally, ethically unqualified, right? Which is where you get to Hegseth. I think you get Hegseth on both parts. They're trying to say he's former military, so he's qualified to be Secretary of Defense. I mean, okay, that's like saying, you worked on an assembly line in an auto plant, so you're qualified to be CEO. No. I mean, maybe, but no, right? Just because you were a soldier doesn't mean you've got the qualifications to run the Pentagon. No, it doesn't. That's great you were a soldier. We should all laud everyone who's been a soldier. That's great that you volunteered or whatever, right? But to suggest that you're qualified to lead the Department of Defense based on it, that's crazy. That's crazy. All right, a little more news here. Interesting. So Germany's something that's probably going to cause problems for him. Germany's ambassador to the U.S. wrote a 5-page note to the German chancellor back home, basically assessing for him what was going on in the U.S. with Trump. And I'm going to guess the Trumpers aren't going to like it. What he said was pretty straightforward and not necessarily very conservative. I mean, not conservative, not very outrageous, really. But he said, and listen to this. He voiced serious concerns about the future of U.S. democracy, writing, fundamental democratic principles along with checks and balances will be largely undermined by Trump. The legislature, law enforcement, and media will be robbed of their independence and misused as a political arm, and big tech will gain co-governing authority. All of that's true. First seen by the news agency DPA on Sunday, the leaked cable was later picked up by other German outlets. In the paper, the German ambassador to the U.S. wrote that he expects Trump to effect a maximum concentration of power in the hands of the president at the expense of Congress and the states. Accurate. Michaelis went on to write that Trump's policy of maximum disruption, the breaking up of the established political order and bureaucratic structures, as well as his plans for revenge, ultimately mean a redefinition of the constitutional order. The guy's going to lose his job over this. I mean, Trump is not going to accept this guy staying as the ambassador, but everything he wrote, honestly, to some degree, what he wrote, it isn't just correct. It's also kind of like, duh, right? I mean, Trump's going to consolidate power at the expense of the legislature and the courts. Yes. Trump is going to undercut the media. Yes. Big tech is getting too strong of a hand, like oligarchs. Yes. Right. I mean, this is not rocket science, but it's going to be interesting to see how Trump freaks out about it. Let's move on with a bit of Ukraine news. It is day 1060 of Vladimir Putin's special 3-day military operation in Ukraine. CNN had a wonderful story today that said Trump misses his own deadline to end the war in Ukraine. Basically, Trump had thank you, Angel, appreciate that. Trump had promised on day one he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. He didn't. Now, obviously, he wasn't going to, but I thought it was kind of cute that CNN did that. He missed his deadline. This was interesting. So we got news today. It appears the Syrian government has canceled the investment contract it had with a Russian company to develop the port of Tartus. Thank you, Courtney. Now, this port of Tartus, my dog keeps going in and out for sticks. Now that the snow has melted, even though it's frigid, she's out. Okay, seriously, that was a cat. That was a total cat move. Oh my God. Literally, that was a total freaking cat move. She's like, I want to go outside. And the second she went out there, she went, it's 14 degrees. I don't want, actually, what was the temperature? Is it 19 degrees. It's 19 degrees. I don't want this. I'm trying to, 19 degrees, -8 or 9, maybe -10 Celsius. I'm trying to remember. It's cold. It's cold. So yes, she was like, I don't want that. Very funny. So, no, this is important. Listen to this. The Syrian government. So the Syrian government has canceled an investment contract for the Russians to develop a naval port. The naval port is the naval port the Russians have been, using all this time. It is one more indication that the Russians are getting kicked out of Syria. which is great, and that they haven't been able to renegotiate their contracts with the Syrian government, which again is absolutely amazing. Very interesting. So yeah, she's playing with her little, I think she was playing with a toy behind me a second ago. Now she stopped. She was sort of frustrated behind me doing her her upset noises. Zelensky is working on setting up a meeting with Donald Trump, according to the news. Also, he said today that he believes a peace deal with Russia will require at least 200,000 peacekeepers. I don't know if that number is accurate. That number sounds like a lot, but I think tens of thousands of peacekeepers at least is probably necessary. Basically, if peace breaks out, you need enough European troops on Ukrainian soil so that if the Russians invade again, they will have to hurt those European troops and it will cause war with Europe. That's the only way to stop a war from happening in the future. Hello, I hear you. What's going on? It's not water. You've already got that. I don't even know where you are. Leave me alone. She's somewhere within 10 feet of me going. She probably wants more. No, stop. She wants more treats, I think. What else we got here? New York Times. Oh, this was interesting. So Zelensky has detained some former commanders for not doing well in the war, facing growing public pressure to address concerns over military leadership on the front as Ukrainian forces lose ground daily to Russian attacks. Ukraine said it had detained 3 former commanders that it blamed for the loss of territory last spring. Ukraine Security Service said late Monday that the 3 former commanders, 2 generals, and a colonel had been accused of failing to protect the Kharkiv region in northeastern Ukraine from the advance of Russian forces last year. Israel is proposing sending seized Russian weapons in Lebanon to Ukraine. Let's see if it happens. Israel has not been the biggest helper in Ukraine. They had a reason because they had to suck up to the Russians because the Russians controlled Syria and the Israelis needed access to Russian airspace to go after Hezbollah and Iranian proxies and this kind of stuff. Well, now that the Russians are out of Syria, it becomes a very interesting question. Thank you. Who's that? Thank you, KT. It becomes a very interesting question as to, he's driving me crazy. It becomes an interesting question as to whether the whether the Israelis need the Russians anymore and whether they can be now more overtly helpful to Ukraine. Then again, what will Trump do? Will Trump say no, right? Finally, Albania. This story I thought was interesting. So, excuse me. Albania signed a 10-year security cooperation agreement with Ukraine. The wide-ranging agreement includes cooperation between the 2 countries in areas of defense, intelligence sharing, cybersecurity, and more. Apparently, they're doing it to mutually help each other join the European Union. But what's also interesting is Albania was, an ally and quasi-satellite of the Soviet Union, in the 45 years after World War II. So it's particularly interesting to have the Albanians. I yawn all the time, Joe. It's interesting to have the Albanians basically have a friendship and defense cooperation agreement with a country that's at war with Russia, when the Russians were the ones that were kind of, had the Albanians under their thumbs to a degree at least. I just think that's kind of interesting. All right, guys. So that is it for the news. Let's talk. This is the part of the show we hang out and talk. So I am here for you. Ask questions, comments, etc. Please do keep the gifts coming. As I said, if you're on YouTube or TikTok, I should say, follow me on YouTube. You can go to my profile and look for more of my social media links on TikTok. Go to the profile, look at the Linktree link, click it. You'll see all our social media links. Follow me on a number of them. I don't know what that is, Emily. I have no idea what that is. What is that? What else we got here? Everyone's talking about their weather since I mentioned how cold it was. Was Albania aligned with China? I don't remember. You mean during the Cold War? I mean, they were a Marxist sort of communist government, whatever, very dictatorial. But they weren't necessarily tied to the Russians, which was interesting. But China, I don't know anything about them with having ties to China previously. Don't know. Ashley Brown, thank you, Ashley, for the super chat. No question. Just wanted to say Billy Ray Cyrus at the Liberty Ball was the highlight of my year. Oh, that's fun. What you mean? No, what was the Liberty Ball? Was that, or were you? Did you go in person, or this was one of those on TV, or what? Thank you, Carmelina. I do know that there's snow in the South today, which is wild. We've got blizzard warnings in like Alabama or something, which is absolutely insane. Yeah, Hoxha, I think, was the dictator in Albania. Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, yeah. Gunther adopted new pets. So check out the pictures on Discord in our pet area. Do I think Russia will use force to keep their military base in Syria? I'm not sure they can. I mean, first of all, Russia doesn't want to be on the receiving end of all of those terrorist attacks and everything else, because now you've got the Syrian government they would be at war with, right? I mean, maybe they could pull it off, but I don't know. I mean, I guess here's the other problem too. If the Russians were to go to war to keep their bases after the Syrians said leave, if you're an African country that has a Russian base, you better start worrying. If the Russians are basically saying, once you get a base, we're never going to leave. And if you do try to kick us out, we'll bomb you, right? So I don't think anyone is suggesting that the Russians are going to forcibly stay. It wouldn't be ideal. Yeah. I don't think anybody's saying the Russians are going to forcibly stay. Interesting idea though. Now, knowing the Russians, they're going to bribe, they're going to cajole, they're going to threaten, lots of ways of trying to stay there, what else we got? What else we got? I know. I hear you. Hi. You want to come say hi? Come say hi. Okay. You can see a little bit of Sasha there in the, those of you on YouTube could see a little bit of the apricot walking by. Finally can tell your niece in Alabama to grab a sweater. I know, it's really cool though, like snowing in the South, which it doesn't do. And a blizzard, which it really doesn't do, like for 100 years now. Smug Chimp, I did comment earlier about Trump and the Proud Boys. I mean, basically, Trump has pardoned the heads of two, if not the two top white supremacist anti-government groups and hate groups in America, the Proud Boys and the, oh my God, I'm forgetting, Stuart Rhodes, Oath Keepers, they call themselves Oath Keepers. And basically they're violent white supremacist anti-government groups. They're far-right hate groups. And Trump pardoned the leaders of both of them, who were in jail for sedition, found guilty in court for trying to violently overturn the government. Really amazing. The Liberty Ball was for Trump after the inaugural. Billy Ray was hammered. They cut his mic and he wouldn't leave. That's funny. 7 inches of snow already in Alabama. Oh, that's amazing. That's a really good storm. Wow. Correct, Delilah. It's a weird story. They are white supremacists and their leader was part Latino. Correct. It's, hey, I don't make the facts, but correct. Enrique Tarrio's Latino and he was heading up a white supremacist group. Kind of screwy. Anyway. Oh, that's true. Well, we talked about it. Musk and his little arm movements. Yep. We talked about that last night. That was a disaster. New Orleans has snow. Oh, that's interesting. That's got to be pretty if New Orleans has snow. That's got to be very pretty. What else, guys? Oh, he's Afro-Latino. I forgot about that. Excuse me. I forgot about that. So he's black and Latino just to add to the fun. Yeah. Isn't he Cuban or is he Cuban? American? I'm forgetting. I thought he was half something. I don't remember now. I tend not to read, Diomedes. I used to read, but I've been so, like, ever since around 2010, actually 2005, really, I got heavily involved with the blogs here in America. I had one of the top US political blogs, and every day I was writing all day long and reading all day long. And it got me to the point where I don't enjoy reading anymore. I mean, again, I'm reading all day, like to do the show here and to do my videos throughout the day on TikTok and YouTube. I'm reading all day long, so that reading has become work. It's too bad, but reading has become work for me. So like at night, I like to relax with my TV. I don't like to read. I've got to start trying it again, but it feels like work to me. And I don't know, I haven't heard of other people, whether this happened to them too, where they read and write for work and it made them all of a sudden find reading to feel like work, you know? Audiobooks are an interesting idea. The problem is I'm at home. So like the other thing I don't want to do is listen to radio or books. It's like people that listen to podcasts. And I'm like, I'm going to sit here for an hour and listen to a book. I feel like I'd go crazy. I did not fix my internet. I've got to call them tomorrow. I was a little worried about even trying to use it tonight because you guys were saying I should turn off my other internet. But if I turn off my other internet and it dies like it did last night, then I wouldn't be able to have you anymore. It would take 5-6 minutes for the internet to come back. So I didn't do it. Sasha, stop. Oh my God. There we go. She's behind me. Come here. I will pet you. Come here. Okay. Hi. Okay. All right. I'm petting her while I talk to you. That'll make her feel a little better. Oh my God. But yes, I think audiobooks would be better if I were traveling, if I were like commuting to work for an hour. That would be pretty cool, but I think I don't want to sit at home for an hour. I'm going to yawn today. I'm sorry. I don't want to. So did he pardon Leonard Peltier? I heard you guys saying that yesterday. I didn't see it. Well, she did play in the hallway last night. She also got to play a little bit this afternoon briefly. But she could use a little bit more. Sasha was a diva even before she was elderly, Pixie. Maybe she's worse now, but she was always a bit of a diva. Like always. Yeah, I don't want to pick her up right now. She hates being picked up. And I'm just not in the mood to like put her through that. You really want more? Oh my God, fine. She's at her bowl now and she puts her foot in the bowl and goes like this. So I gave her water before the show started, by the way. All right, fine. Miss Complainer. Oh my God. It's like I work for you. Or we're married or something. It's like, my God. Oh, actually, that's interesting. Good. My bread is doing well. Lower that. All right, there. I have some bread. I'm got rising in my bread riser, so I've got to make sure I get that going soon. Very excited about that. I've got to look here. I think it's 325 it cooks at, but hang on here. Oh shoot! I just lost the recipe. Hang on. It's my Greek bread recipe. 325. That's what I thought. It's my Greek bread recipe. A staircase and a bed. What do you mean? For what? Discord? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe. It's only 7:00. Normally, if we do Discord, I'd like to go soon because then we hang at Discord for another half hour plus. So I like not to do this part of the show too long if we're going to Discord. Do presidents usually pardon people on day one? No. Not that I recall. Pardons very often happen at the end. They usually don't happen at the beginning. Presidents also often don't pardon terrorists. So that's another thing. Seditionists, people who try to violently overthrow the government. Actually, I would say literally never do presidents do that. So, but doing it on the first day is weird, generally speaking. Why aren't I live on Twitch? Because it's just too much. I'd consider it, but sometimes I'm just not in the mood to have four screens going. I've got 3 going right now. I've got Discord, YouTube, TikTok. No, did he? Trump relieved the female admiral who was the commander of the Coast Guard. Did he really, Dave? Ooh, I missed that. Ooh. Okay, that I had not heard. Ooh. I wouldn't be surprised. Why? Well, it depends. Well, first of all, I'm sure it was he was claiming she was a diversity hire or some BS like that. You know what I mean? That's sort of Trump's usual. Let me look at this. Coast Guard. I missed that one. Let me pull this one up. Come on. What are you doing here? Ah, Coast Guard. Come on. Trump fires U.S. Coast Guard commandant. Let's find this. So this is from New York Times. The Trump administration. Get out of here. Oh my God, I'm already a member. Stop it. Jeez. I already subscribed to the New York Times and it's making me fill out the thing. It's like, stop it. Stop it. The Trump administration fired the commandant of the U.S. Coast Guard, Admiral Linda Fagan, within 24 hours of President Trump's inauguration. The admiral was sworn in as the service chief on June 1st, 2022, and was the first female officer to lead a branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. A lengthy department statement indicated that Admiral Fagan had been fired for several reasons, many involving Mr. Trump's key issues. She was terminated because of leadership deficiencies, operational failures, and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Failure to address border security threats. I am sure. Yeah. Statement claimed she had an excessive focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion policies. I kind of like that. I mean, you can go too far on the diversity thing, but you got to go pretty far to go too far. And I mean, usually the presumption is going to be somebody who says, "Oh, you've gone too far. You're too diverse." I mean, you've got a very high burden to prove that somebody is too much in favor of civil rights. I mean, come on. Yeah, that's what's going on. That's what's going on. Wow. And the first woman, unbelievable. Unbelievable. Of course he did it. Of course he did it. Man. Unbelievable. Oops. He got rid of the reduced drug pricing? No. You mean the Medicare drug pricing thing? No. No way. No way. What, he did not raise the prices on? No way. How do you people not tell me this? How did I miss this? Hold on. Trump drug pricing. Oh my God. Again, this is where I let me see. Hold on a second. Oh my God. On Monday, he signed a sweeping order aimed in part at reversing several Biden administration of executive orders on healthcare, including efforts to lower the cost of prescription drugs for people on Medicare and Medicaid, enhancing the Affordable Care Act, and increasing protections for Medicaid. The one Biden effort, overturned by Trump, for example, had directed Medicare to look at ways to lower drug prices, including whether to impose a $2 monthly out-of-pocket cap on certain generic drugs. That initiative, however, was only in the developmental stage. Well, okay, yeah, but they were looking at it. Okay. Biden's bigger initiatives, such as a $35 monthly cap on insulin and a $2,000 annual out-of-pocket cap on prescription drugs for Medicare, were not touched by Trump's executive order. Okay. So he very smartly didn't touch the big stuff. Okay. I was going to say he's out of his mind if he goes after the big stuff. Okay. That's why. All right. So a little bit smarter of him to do that. Yes, they removed Milley's portrait yesterday afternoon. That was horrific. But yeah, so he didn't go after the most important stuff. So that's good, at least, to hear. So that's good. Your father-in-law's inhaler went from $15 to $250. When was that? When did that happen? This week. Really? Huh. I know inhalers, a couple of years ago, inhalers went up at one point. I remember some patent ran out or something happened, or some patent renewed or whatever it was. And I remember inhaler prices going up a lot for asthma inhalers, but I don't quite recall what the issue was. Any case. So what else, guys? He removed the security detail for John Bolton. Of course he did. Did he really? They removed the Spanish version of the White House webpage? Did he really? Although I figure why not? Well, of course, that's only something he would do. Um, uh, I did not on the Afghan. Let me see on the Afghan situation because he did play games with asylum stuff from countries like Cuba, which was bad. Bowie, thank you, Bowie, because I mean, why would you cut back on that, right? I mean, Cuba's a pretty clear case. Um, let me see here. Interesting. One second here. Going after the Afghans who worked with U.S. troops is ridiculous. Trump order leaves Afghans who were approved to resettle in the U.S. in limbo. Ooh. President Trump's executive order freezing refugee programs could impact thousands of Afghans approved to resettle as refugees in the U.S. That includes family members of U.S. service members and Afghans who served alongside the U.S. military in partner forces, as well as others who, in one way or another, are connected to the U.S. mission. Um, so, Nearly 1,600 Afghans cleared to resettle in the U.S. could have their flights canceled. Jesus. As of Tuesday, the flights have not been canceled yet. The program will be suspended for at least 90 days. Okay, that's screwy. If it's suspended indefinitely, it would wind up affecting as many as 30 to 40,000 Afghans currently in Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Qatar, some of whom would face reprisals from the Taliban. Yeah, that's pretty screwy. That's pretty screwy. These are basically the Afghan citizens who helped the American troops when we were in Afghanistan, and they helped our troops at great risk to their own lives. And Trump may have put our efforts to help repatriate them or let them stay in the U.S. on hold. Anyway, let's see. But again, this is the Trump people hopefully being sloppy, but let's see. But yes, incredibly stupid because you want people in other countries to work with U.S. troops. And you want them to know that if we promise them something, such as saying we will help you go to America if you help us, we should follow through on that because we want them helping us. We don't want in the future these guys going, we're not helping American troops because you can't trust them, Anyway, yeah. What else? Yeah, that's pretty bad, though. That's pretty bad. What else, guys? Anything else, or what? We're hitting a deadlock from folks. Well, I have to see it. Constitution was taken down. I'd like to see that proven first, though. They got rid of the Customs and Border Patrol app. Huh. Market was up today. Yeah. Randy, Fred. What else is going on? That's interesting. The U.S. continued its military aid to Ukraine today, despite Trump being inaugurated. Interesting. That's good. Could the U.S. close off the Panama Canal? Wait, could the U.S. close off the Panama Canal to U.S. shipping? Meaning, could the U.S. close off the Panama Canal and say it's only U.S. shipping? I mean, you'd have to do it militarily. The problem is a lot of European countries wouldn't be thrilled with that. The Chinese might freak out. The Russians would freak out. A lot of Asian countries would freak out. I mean, the U.S. could try. Oh, could Panama close it off? If Panama closes off the Panama Canal to U.S. shipping, it's going to be an act of war. So they better not do that. If they do that, he will invade. And I wouldn't necessarily oppose it if Panama cut off the Panama Canal to us. That's, that is a very stupid move if they did that. So no, I don't think I hope they're not that stupid. So they could, but if they do that, then we will invade and we will literally take it if they do that. So hopefully they don't. Yes, I saw that the reproductive rights website came down. I'm not surprised Trump would take that down. Yeah, but nobody cares what the UN thinks. I mean, what else, guys? Thank you, Elizabeth. Keep praying for us. Um, well, saying we're taking it back is very warmongering, yes, but nonetheless, Panama should not just say we're not allowed in because we will literally invade. That's not the good idea. Um, I mean, things are going slower. We could go to Discord for a little bit since things are going very slowly here. I don't like to sort of drag this out when it's sort of going slow. You know what I mean? When we sort of going through the news, not a ton of questions. Um, so I think we're going to do that. So guys, we're going to switch over to Discord. Yeah, Vivek is leaving. We mentioned that yesterday. Who's in charge of Syria? I don't know. Well, the leader is what's his face, the guy who is heading up the fighters. But yeah, let's go over to. I don't feel like doing a recap. Let's go over to Discord. All right, guys. We can. Anybody who knows how to go to Discord knows how to go there. Actually, I've got the Discord room open. I'm going to leave it open then, but I'll turn off my camera in a second. We'll just do audio. The room is already open. I've got it in the after party room. There's already a thing going on. So for folks, how to join Discord, there's a link in my profile. The only tricky part is if in my profile on Discord, if you click the link in my profile, one of the links that comes up says Discord. If you're on your phone, you've got to click and hold that link until something pops up that says accept invite. If you just click the link and let go, it's not going to work on your phone. If you're on a computer, the link should work fine. It's a little complicated. Joining Discord it's free, but it's a little complicated. That's all I've got to say. So you might be able to pull it off, but it's hard for me to explain. All right, folks are already moving over to Discord. So join us over there, guys. We will go to Discord. As I said, for TikTokers, definitely follow me on YouTube. That's my YouTube handle. I am not convinced TikTok is going to survive. I think the 75-day delay is nice. Let's see how long TikTok's app actually works. Because I think we're in the phase right now where the App Store has banned them because of the law, and we're just waiting until the app doesn't work anymore. So let's see, but I'm a little worried about that. So, all right, TikTok, YouTube, I'm signing off. Discord, hello. I will join you in a moment, and then I'm going to turn off my camera on Discord. Let me turn that so we can do this part of the show. There we go. I like to do audio only because it's much more relaxed. All right. Let's do YouTubers first. Good night, YouTubers. Thank you guys for all of your support and for good number tonight of people. And TikTok.